is our game.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the All Sports Focus podcast. We are back here talking NFL. I'm here with Ryan. Ryan, say what's up.
What's up, everybody?
And then we got a special guest here, finally able to join us. We got Sean. Sean, say what's up.
What's up, everybody? How we doing?
Sean is a big old sports fan. Used to run Correct the Podcast, kind of a podcast.
Yeah, it started out as the ESPN station here. We had a show. It was called The Corner Three,
Okay.
basketball like only, and then we transferred it into a podcast. Went through a few names, but ended up Break Starter podcast.
Okay.
But we ended up cutting that a few years ago, and now I'm basically a free agent. So
Yeah. Well, we're happy he's here. We could definitely use some more voices, and we're looking forward to see what Sean's got today.
And he's a Josh Allen fan, so, in my
he's a
corner.
Josh Allen and a Kentucky fan, so obviously we're going to get along with him. Today we're just talking about some of the biggest news going on in the last couple of weeks in the NFL. Then we're going to talk some quarterback battles, some division battles, conference, whatever. But the first thing we're going to start off with here is obviously, I would say, the big elephant of the NFL the past couple weeks has been the Pittsburgh Steelers. I feel like they were probably the least active team during the main free agency period. And then afterwards, everything happened. They're like, all right, now we'll actually decide to do some stuff. But I haven't really agreed with any of the moves they've made. It feels like they're going all in on this season, but I feel like the all in pieces they're acquiring are not all in pieces to win a Super Bowl. Ryan, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I feel like they're going all in if they were going all in like 3 years ago, when Jalen Ramsey was still the dominant corner that he is, when Aaron Rodgers was still MVP form. DK Metcalf obviously has seen kind of a drop off in the past couple of years, so it's like you're pushing the chips to the middle, but that should have been like 2 or 3 years ago, not this version where they're all like in their early 30s.
Yeah. Sean, what do you think?
yeah, it feels like they're like, we really wanted these players a few years ago, and now we can actually capitalize on it without spending everything that we would have had to a few years ago. And they're like, all right, check in the box, another one right there, and then is it going to equate to winning, or I don't know.
Probably another 500 season and losing the first round if I probably could bet on it.
Yeah, I don't see that roster being talented enough to beat whatever the Bengals look like as far as their defense, and then the Ravens. So I don't even know that they make it out of their own division, let alone compete with the Bills or the Chiefs in the rest of the AFC, or even the Chargers out west. I'm not sure that you have the youthful talent to be able to compete there.
My biggest question mark was trading Minkah Fitzpatrick out of all people. I would have understood getting Jalen Ramsey, if it was giving up, some other secondary player and a pick or whatever. But giving up Minkah, who's kind of been, I would say, the secondary anchor of that defense behind TJ Watt for the last couple years. And he hadn't really done anything wrong. He's been hurt a couple times here and there, but that's football. But other than that, he was a main part of that defense. And they said, you know what? We're going to ship you away for probably, I would say, 1 or 2 years of Jalen Ramsey. And you can't tell me since the Super Bowl with the LA Rams that Jalen Ramsey has been even the type of player he was even close to in Jacksonville or Los Angeles. And especially since he's gotten to Miami, that's for sure. And then, they got Jonnu Smith that they're supposedly so high on, but besides one season in Miami, what has Jonnu Smith done in the NFL?
When you already have Pat Freiermuth, who's been a very reliable and dominant pass catcher for 2 marginal quarterbacks at best, and he had great seasons. So not really understanding stacking up in tight end depth for no reason there.
Mm-hmm. Sean, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so when I'm looking at it, I look at it through like a fantasy perspective because that's kind of how I got to learn the game mostly. So it definitely hurts my Johnu and Firemuth on my rostering of them. But if I'm just looking at it as like a on-field type thing, um, it's kind of confusing. But then you think back, and I mean, Arthur Smith, he was loving putting Johnu on the field over Kyle Pitts, and I mean, yeah, Kyle Pitts is whatever, but I mean, you look at it now, and it's like he's going to go get his guys, even though he's only the offensive coordinator. So he's going to go out and I mean, they're going to what are they going to run? 4 tight end sets? I mean, my biggest question with them was they traded George Pickens, which I'm not a super big fan of him, but then the next thing that I hear come out is, "Hey, we're looking to get a wide receiver too." It's like you just had him. Like what? Why? You haven't even seen what those two are together. Like how are you going to ship him off and then be like, "Hey, we're looking for a wide receiver too." That was my biggest question with all of this. Even more so than the stacking 4 tight ends on top of each other.
I completely agree. I mean, you look at some other teams, yeah, wide receivers are freaking divas and they want to get paid the most money and catch the most targets. I mean, catch the most balls, get the most targets. But you see mostly a lot of success from like 2 good wide receivers because that allows defenses to not be able to double team one wide receiver and basically take him out of the game. I mean, as a Giants fan, that's what happened to Malik Neighbors towards the end of the season. They absolutely just put their best corner on him and put a safety over the top, and he was taken out of the game for half the game, basically. And so you would think you could have DK Metcalf, you could have had George Pickens, you could have had Pat Fryermuth. Sure, you could have had Jonnu Smith, and you could have had Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. I mean, right there, that's a whole lot better than, I mean, I can't even really name their wide receiver 2 now behind DK.
I have no idea who it is now.
And then you still have the tight ends. Running back's another big question mark because they have Tyler Warren, that's still from the team last year. But he was the RB2 behind Najee Harris. And they kind of let Najee just walk without really anything, honestly. And so there's another big question mark. And then we haven't even talked about Aaron Rodgers yet, who, another guy, we talked about Jalen Ramsey not being the same player. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the clear definition of that. Ever since he left Green Bay, and even probably, I would say the last year or 2 in Green Bay, he wasn't really Aaron Rodgers. And especially now coming off a torn Achilles still 2 years past. And now he's already coming out and saying, after all the drama this offseason, I was like, at some point, I was kind of like, I feel like he's not going to sign with the Steelers because they put all their chips into him. I mean, yes, Shador fell the 5th round. That's a whole other book I don't want to open, but Shador was there. You could have gotten Dylan Gabriel. You could have gotten Jalen Milroe or anybody, but you wait till the 6th round and got Will Howard. And here we go.
I mean, realistically, you had every quarterback except for Jackson Dart and Cam Ward.
They had Jackson Dart there too at their pick.
Yeah, that's true.
They had Jackson Dart there at their pick. So
besides the projected number 1 pick who went number 1, you had your choice of quarterbacks in this draft. And I think Rodgers being like stringing them along for so long just tells me that he's not that committed to this. This is just I'll play one more year just because kind of thing. And I just don't see you're showing up halfway through training camp stuff now and expecting to be in like game shape to start off. It's not. At 41 years old, no shot.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the biggest question mark, honestly. You could talk about the trades, you could talk about whatever else. It's really the future of this team because, I mean, you've basically since Big Ben retired, and this has been probably, I would say, a top 3 just revolving door at the quarterback position in the NFL. I mean, they thought Kenny Pickett was the next guy. Didn't happen. I mean, they signed Mitch Trubisky that one year. They had Mason Rudolph. I mean, it's just been like, who the hell is going to be the guy? They got Russell Wilson. They got Justin Fields. They let both of them walk. And so, I mean, you got 1 year of Aaron Rodgers, and then you look at the team right now, it's Will Howard, really. I mean, it's Will Howard after this 1 year of Aaron Rodgers. Do you guys? I want to hear both your opinions. Do you think that's a building successful team, or what should they do, or what should they have done in the past offseason here?
Go ahead, Sean.
I mean, I think looking at it through like this. Obviously, I'm mostly a basketball guy, and I've devolved myself into football.
Mhm.
But knowing teams that are kind of stuck in that middle ground, whether it's the good middle ground where you're making the playoffs and anything can happen if you make the playoffs, or you're like sitting there knocking on the door all the time. I mean, the Steelers are stuck in that limbo where it's like they're just good enough to make the playoffs, but they're not beating anybody. So I think it's hard for them because they're never getting a good draft pick at that point. They're always stuck there at like the 17 to 23 ish area, and you're not going to be able to get a franchise altering QB unless it's lucky. There are good QB classes coming up. I mean, obviously, you got like Arch and uh, Sellers and Lagway. I mean, you got a bunch of guys coming up, but you kind of just have to sit there and hope. And with them signing Rodgers, it's like you're kind of just hoping that he does enough. But if I'm sitting there, if I'm taking care of a team, I either want to be the best or I want to be the worst. There's no in between. I don't want to sit there and be in that limbo that I was just talking about. I want to be able to either see myself winning a Super Bowl or positioning myself, rebuilding, retooling to get into a place where I feel great about my team and can get back to that Super Bowl chase.
Mhm.
And I just don't think the Steelers are at that position. And honestly, I don't really trust the brass up top to get them back into that kind of a position.
Brian, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sean's exactly right there. You've either got to push your chips all in and say we're trading everybody good and we're going to just rebuild and we're going to kind of tank. I mean, you look at some of the teams in the NBA that have just kind of said the Mavericks, it somehow magically worked out in their favor that they said we're trading our superstar, and then you get Cooper Flag. But so that's a case of if you're going to do that, you trade TJ Watt and you say we're pushing all of our chips to rebuild here. We're going to have Aaron Rodgers be a bridge gap guy for a year or two. We're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. We're going to go get Arch Manning next year. We're going to go get whoever you love from next year's draft class. Or you say we're going to sign the best possible players. We're going to spend a bunch of money in free agency and we're going to go try to win a Super Bowl this year. Like what the Rams did with Matt Stafford in his first year there. But like Sean said, they're in this limbo of they're not spending enough in free agency to get the guys that are going to help them win a Super Bowl, but they're getting decent enough guys that they're going to be stuck in that middle of the road. We're going to sneak into the playoffs as a 6 seed or a 7 seed. We're going to get walloped by the Chiefs or the Bills in the first round of the playoffs. And we're going to be right back here next year doing this exact same thing.
My thing with
Go ahead.
the whole Aaron Rodgers signing just doesn't make sense to me. In the respect that obviously they know they're not good enough, but like we've been talking about, I think if they would have gotten signed or drafted a Jackson Dart or one of these earlier QBs where it's like, all right, we know this guy is going to be our path to the future. We want just kind of like how the Giants did. They drafted Dart. They got two good, decent, whatever you want to think about Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're getting those guys to teach him, to give him time to develop, to all this different stuff. And I don't think you're doing that with Will Howard and with the 1 year of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's literally just a stopgap QB. You're not getting him in there to teach somebody because in all honesty, I don't think anybody thinks that Will Howard is the future of the Steelers QB room.
No. I think I'm not trying to dog on Aaron Rodgers, but he's also never been really known as like a big teacher or anything like that. I mean, that's some quarterbacks are, some quarterbacks aren't. But I mean, I will give them a benefit of the doubt though, because I think at some point, I mean, yes, they've had Mike Tomlin. He's had these over 500 seasons for whatever, like 15, 16 years in a row now. But at some point, when is mediocrity gonna when are you gonna have enough of it? I mean, like Sean said it perfectly. You either want to be the best or you want to be the worst so you can retool and then become the best. Because like I said earlier, they've been stuck in this ongoing cycle of quarterback and quarterback and quarterback. But next year, I mean, is the draft class. Let's say they do end up in that 17 to 23 range. I mean, you got Drew Aller, you got Cade Klubnik, you got Sam Levitt, you got Arch Manning, you got Lenora Sellers. I mean, there's plenty of these guys that, yes, you can draft that people are thinking. Garrett Nussmeier, another one. Sorry, I'm looking at this list from LSU. I mean, there's all these 4 or 5 quarterbacks that people think could be franchise quarterbacks. And I understand this last year's draft class, there was the kind of the top three of Dart, Shador, and Cam Ward. But, I mean, there was a lot of question marks, and maybe they didn't fall in love with any of the quarterbacks this year, and that's why they kind of put all their marbles in Aaron Rodgers. But at the same time, I mean, you're in an AFC here that's not getting any easier by the day. I mean, right now, you look at the top 3 that's been for the past 5 years. You got Patrick Mahomes, you got Josh Allen, you got Lamar Jackson. One, they're all locked up by all 3 of those teams for long-term contracts. Number 2, they're all about the 29 to 30 or 27 to 30-year-old range. So they're not going anywhere in the next probably 5 to 10 years. So you got to have a guy that's going to be able to compete with those 3 because, I mean, yes, you got Joe Burrow, you got Justin Herbert too. I mean, that's just adding even more on to the top 3. But those have been the 3 teams to beat for the past 3 seasons in the AFC. The Chiefs, more specifically. So you got to look at it as do I have a good enough team to beat the Chiefs? Do I have a good enough team to beat the Bills? Do I have a good enough team to beat the Ravens? And you got the Ravens and you got the Bengals in your division that you're playing twice a year. So there's all that. And then you also add in the rumors of recently about TJ Watt and his contract and how he feels about the Steelers because, I mean, I bet you he looks at it. Hey, I think he's probably 30 years old, 31 years old.
I think so, yeah.
Edge rushers don't have the longest lifetime in the NFL. I mean, they get beat up play after play, and TJ Watt has been hurt. And so maybe he's thinking, hey, I want to go to a Super Bowl contending team here. And
like Bosa did.
Yeah, like Bosa did. And I mean, they're not really paying him either because they're not really working out a contract. So, I mean, you can't lose your star player either. I mean, they're like the whole thing that started this conversation, they're pushing all their chips in on this team this year. And I don't think it's going to work. I mean, they could prove me wrong and win the AFC North, whatever. I don't see it happening. I mean, let alone playing a healthy Bengals team and a healthy Ravens team. I see them finishing 3rd in the AFC North. I don't know about you guys. I see them finishing 3rd.
I think it just depends what product the Bengals end up putting out on the field, whether Trey Hendrickson re-signs or not. Because if he's not out on the field, then I think the Steelers could potentially end up being the 2nd team in the AFC North. Just because I think the Bengals defense, besides him, can't stop literally anything. But if he ends up getting back out on the field, then yeah, there's no shot that the Steelers beat out both the Ravens and the Bengals this season.
Yeah, best case scenario, you're getting the 2nd seed in your division. Because, I mean, no matter what, unless the Lamar injury happens, which we don't want that. But, I mean, that's the only way that you can see yourself realistically getting to the 1 seed. And then you count in the Bengals who, if they ever figure out these contracts with any of their defensive players, their first-round rookie, anything. Yeah. They have one of the best QBs in the world. They have one of the top wide receivers, one of the top wide receiver duos. They're going to score unlimited points on offense. It just comes down to if their defense can get a stop or two some point in the game. Mm-hmm. And then you have the Browns, who obviously we don't know what they're doing. But I mean, you're just sitting there back and forth with the Steelers, and you're like, yeah, I mean, Steelers are going to do good, but the Browns, they're sneaky. But yeah, you're just sitting there just hoping that the
They're
Steelers
legendary.
get You're just hoping the Steelers get another 9-10 win season, which I will say, as a betting man, I've been cashing it in the past 3 years. You put 50, 100, just a little sweetener on there. You're like, yep, I feel good. That's pretty double my money. But at the end of the day, I
That's
don't like
true.
it. I don't like the Steelers.
Just to clarify, I see the thing is with the Ravens. I mean, if you listen to our podcast from a month or two ago from the draft, the post-draft one, we said probably the team that was the best team last year and then somehow managed to get even better to this next year was the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, the draft they had, the free agency they got better all on both sides of the ball. And that's just kind of scary to me because were they the 3 seed this last year or the 2 seed in the
3
AFC?
seed.
They were the 3 seed. And I mean, they were within a game of the Bills and the Chiefs, a game or two, whatever it was. And for them to get better, I mean, that's pretty scary. I mean, an in-division opponent too. I mean, that's
I did see a pretty funny picture though of Baltimore Ravens news page posted, and it was this circular cycle, and it said, "Make really splashy free agent signing, a bunch of preseason hype, gets to lose to a bottom tier team that we should never lose to,
Yep.
go on an insane winning streak to enter the playoffs,
yeah,
lose in a division game on a weird turnover, repeat."
yeah.
It's like, well, that's pretty accurate cycle for the
Yeah.
past couple of years.
I mean, the year they had, it was 2 years ago. The year I think was their best chance was the year the Chiefs' offense wasn't really clicking in the playoffs. The Chiefs somehow upset the Bills off the missed field goal in the divisional round. They had the Chiefs in Baltimore, and they scored 7 points. 7 frickin' points. And, I mean, that was their year to do it. And like I've said multiple times here, I mean, the other teams in the AFC, yes, they're getting better, but the other teams in the AFC, I think, are getting better too. I mean, the Bills got better this offseason. The Chiefs kind of degressed a little bit. But then you look at other teams, the Chargers got better. I mean, even for bottom tier teams, like the Patriots got better. Just looking at teams like those, obviously they're probably not going to make a difference this year, but I mean, a couple of years down the road. So that's where we're gonna move into here next, talking about some quarterback battles in kind of respective divisions here. I think the biggest kind of question mark division for me this year is going to be both of the Souths in both conferences, kind of usually the bottom tier divisions. But we're going to start in the AFC South here with the Titans, Colts, Jags, and Texans. Obviously, the quarterbacks, you got C.J. Stroud. You know he's going to be starting. Then you got the Jags. You know Trevor Lawrence is going to be starting. Then you know the Titans. You know Cam Ward, the number 1 pick, is going to be starting. And then there's the Indianapolis Colts.
And hey,
Danny frickin' Dimes, right now, I've seen reports that he has been on track to be the starting quarterback this year.
Andy, please tell Sean the jersey bet, or
Yeah.
the bet that you have for this season.
So, Sean, we have made over the last couple of years different jersey bets, like buying guys' jersey. I have a Trevor Lawrence jersey because of a jersey bet, because a couple years ago, if you remember when the Colts and Carson Wentz were going into Jacksonville against the 2-win Jags, and all they had to do was win the game to make the playoffs. And I said I have confidence in Carson Wentz that if the Colts lose, I'll buy a Trevor Lawrence jersey. And now I have a Trevor Lawrence jersey. That's a whole other that still pisses me off to this day. But the Colts bet is if Daniel Jones leads the Colts to the playoffs, I have to not only buy a Daniel Jones Colts jersey, I have to go to the playoff game no matter where they are playing. I have to spend the money to go to the Colts game. So, but that's talking about the Colts quarterback competition here. This is Anthony Richardson, the number 4 pick from, what was that, 2 years ago?
2 years ago?
Yeah.
I think 2 years ago.
This is Daniel Jones, who got cut from the Giants last year because he was so ass. And now he's battling the number 4 pick for the starting quarterback position. I can't believe I'm even saying this out loud. What are your, this is just honestly comical to me, but what are your guys' thoughts on this? I mean, this just blows my mind.
Honestly, I think Daniel Jones is going to end up winning it. Just because I think there's so many question marks with Anthony Richardson's work ethic, with his on-field performance stuff. I mean, it's been there's small highs and then such low lows for him over the past 2 years that I think if Daniel Jones can just be consistently like marginal, but he's consistent, then I think he's going to get the job because there's not as many low lows. If that makes sense.
I hope the Colts fans, if Daniel Jones does win it, get used to 3-yard dump offs. And then anytime someone's wide open downfield, he's going to underthrow him by 15 yards. Just warning you guys. But Sean, let's hear. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not very happy with the reports of Daniel Jones being the starter. I've moved off of him in all my fantasy leagues, so that's pretty disheartening to hear. But he spent some time over with the Vikings, and I mean, you saw what happened with Sam Darnold. He had a really good year, parlayed that into going over to the Seahawks, getting a big contract. We never really got to see, or we never got to see him play for the Vikings, but just being in that offense, being in that QB room, being with all the QB coaches, all that, I feel like he probably learned a lot. And I mean, it sucks getting cut, especially off of a huge contract. I don't remember what the guarantees were or anything, but I mean, he still made his money.
120
But that does hurt. Yeah. So, I mean, it still hurts to get cut off that kind of contract and then have to go and bounce around the league after, you were picked super high and you were thought of to be like, oh, could this guy be the franchise changing QB? But, some of these guys are second, third team QBs. I mean, you look at Kirk Cousins, he didn't start really popping off until he got to the Vikings. And then you look at Daniel Jones, I mean, who knows? Who knows? So, I mean,
I
we
sure
have
hope
seen,
not. God.
I get it. I get it. And I'm not rooting for it.
Yeah.
But just knowing how QBs look when they're in that offense and then after that offense, it's a mystery box, but I mean, it's not a super hard competition.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson, he's great for fantasy, but outside of that, I mean, I've never been a huge fan. My thing was always, wow, look at him. He can jump super high and throw the football. I was like, bro, I have a bunch of Florida fans as friends, and they're like super hyped up about him. And I'm just like, cool, 42-inch vert, and he gets to throw the football off that. Like, awesome. Like, this isn't basketball,
He's
guys.
not
Like,
just
think
vertically
about
jumping
this.
over the defenders and throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot There's
Congrats.
a
He's
lot more that
gonna
goes into a
he's gonna hop
quarterback
over
playing
some
game.
dudes. Exactly.
Yeah.
I did see a few reports that he's earlier in the offseason he was working out with I couldn't tell you his name off the top of my head, but guys like Josh Allen had worked out with as a QB coach before. And I saw that he was doing that this off season. So maybe he can parlay that into something else, but I don't have much hope for the QB room. I don't think anybody does.
No.
Sean, you haven't met him yet, but Pap, one of the other co-hosts here on the podcast, he actually picked the Colts to win the AFC South this year. Absolutely blew my mind.
Is that a jersey bet?
Huh? We should have made it a freaking jersey bet. Looking back on it, we should have, because that was scored.
I mean, to be fair though, he called the Commanders.
He did.
Getting second in the NFC East and running all the way to the playoffs. So I got to give him a little bit of credit there. He did make that call, and we all looked at him like he was insane last offseason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my big thing, though, is I will give, like Sean said, with going to the Vikings, if you know, I'm a big Sean McVay guy because still hate the Giants for not hiring Sean McVay when that cycle came through. I've said this about 100 times. But then you got Kevin O'Connell, who came from the Rams, who worked with Sean McVay, who's always been kind of a quarterback coach. And then Kevin O'Connell kind of continued the same thing. Got a lot out of Sam Darnold. Daniel Jones kind of learned under him. I mean, like Sean said, you never know. I mean, you really do never know because sometimes quarterbacks, just a new environment, new situation, can flip the switch. But then the Giants fan in me will always hate him because Joe Shane decided to pay him instead of Saquon Barkley. So I'll never forgive him for that. But yeah. So moving on here to the other South, the NFC South. Obviously the three teams. You got the Bucks and Baker Mayfield. You got the Panthers and Bryce Young. You got the Falcons and Michael Penix over Kirk Cousins. That was a whole thing last year that we talked about. But this year is the New Orleans Saints, the team right behind Ryan's head there. A very, very interesting quarterback room. You got Spencer Rattler. You got Jake Heiner, right? That's his name. The dude that did the modeling photo shoot for his movie pictures. And then you got Tyler Schauk.
He was a 27-year-old rookie.
Yeah.
Spent 7 years in college.
I don't know. I mean, they might prove me wrong here, but you spent an early second-round pick on Tyler Schauk. So, my early pick is let that guy start. Because you saw Spencer Rattler play last year. Me and Ryan saw Jake Henner play in person, and it was
for a half of a game.
We're like, holy shit. Ryan Barlow, who played quarterback at the Coast Guard Academy, could walk down there with no pads on and be like, I'm going to do better than this shitter. I mean, at that point, everybody was screaming, put in Rattler because, he couldn't complete a pass. And we're just like, we paid money to come watch this freaking game.
It was only $40.
Yeah,
so
but still. Derek Carr retiring, that was the whole Derek Carr experiment in New Orleans never went to plan.
To be honest, he saved their asses by doing that.
Yeah, he really did. Saved them a lot of money because they were, if you didn't know, the Saints have been in cap hell ever since they really the whole Drew Brees contract, the Taysom Hill, the Michael Thomas, all those guys' contracts. When they just said, screw it, we're going to go all in here, and they never really won one. So, hopefully that fixes it, but who's your guys' pick to start out of those three? Obviously, like I said, mine's Tyler Schauk. Spent an early second-round pick. Let's see what you got out of him. Otherwise than that, let's draft someone early next year, get Arch Manning, New Orleans kid. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they go with Schauk again. Go ahead, Sean.
I was just going to say, you did spend an early second round pick on him. The one leeway that I'll give him is he got injured basically every single year at college, and that's why he kept getting granted all these extra years that he got to play. So it's crazy to say, but I think he does have high potential as a player just because he's never really got to put it on the football field. Sure, he's gotten to do stuff in practice and everything, but he's not, like you would say with any other product that came out at 26, 27 years old, you'd say they're a finished product. But with him, I think playing, I don't know it off the top of my head, but maybe 3 full seasons of football, he's basically like any of these other guys coming out with on-field production, on-field game reps, and you never know. Like y'all have said, you've seen Rattler on the field, you've seen Jake Haener on the field. You haven't seen Tyler Schauk at all. You've seen him maybe a few times in practices, maybe a few times during the NFL draft process, but you don't know what he could be. And your team's just that bad where it's if it doesn't work out, that's a good thing because you just replace him next year. So,
yeah, I think you're exactly right. You've kind of seen the experiment of the other two, and you didn't get the results you wanted. So you might as well play him because I think you're exactly right, Sean. If it goes horribly, you're going to end up with a really high draft pick, and you can either take Arch Manning, the Manning family name is huge in New Orleans, and you get to complete the circle there, or you take Garrett Nussmeier, who plays just up the road in Baton Rouge, and his dad is literally the offensive coordinator for the Saints. So you end up with one of those two with a high draft pick, or he magically puts it all together. He plays a full season and just dominates with the potential that that the Saints saw in him. And then you don't need to draft one of those two guys because you have the quarterback of the future. So I think if you play Rattler or Hayner, you're never going to know what Tyler Shaw would be. And so then when draft season comes around next year, you can't really commit to either we're going to draft a quarterback or we're not because you don't know exactly what you have in your quarterback room. And everybody knows the Saints aren't going to win a Super Bowl this year. So it's not like you're missing your championship window and you need to put somebody on the field to take advantage of your championship window. You're not in it. So you might as well see what you have, see what works. Is he the answer or not? Versus putting somebody out there that you've already seen Spencer Rattler go 1-4 and not look very great. You've got tape on him, so put the guy on the field that you don't have tape on.
Yeah, I think we all hit all the points. The last kind of, I wouldn't say big one, but I feel like it's not really a competition, I would say. It's more of a when. It's the New York Giants with Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart. Jameis Winston's kind of just there for morale. And if anything, drastic happens to the quarterback room, like a big injury or something like that. But the question I'm going to ask here is, do you think do you think Jackson Dart ends up taking over the starting spot from Russell Wilson this season? I'll say my opinion is based on how the first half of the season goes. You look at the Giants team right now, I would expect Jackson Dart to start at some time. But hey, they might shock the world and let's say they're somehow magically in the playoff race. Then you let Russell Wilson keep riding the wave. But at the very slim chance that happens, I think you just throw Jackson Dart in there and see what you got. Sean, what do you think?
So I'm going to preface this with I am the biggest Jackson Dart guy. I don't know what it is, but when I was scouting him for all my fantasy leagues, bro, it wasn't all on the field. It just aura. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but something about him. I loved it. I loved his demeanor. I like all of it just coupled together. I feel like he's going to be a star. Whether that's this year, whether that's in the future, I don't know. But I said the same thing about Bo Nix last year, and people said I was crazy because he's super old, and obviously this is a completely different circumstance. But I don't know. I think he has it, and I think it's a great idea to let him sit behind Russell Wilson and maybe Jameis gets in there, whatever. But I think it's a great idea to let him develop this year and maybe play a few games later in the year, kind of like the Penix situation this past year. I don't think he's as far along as Penix is, but, why not get him some in game reps whenever, maybe they're out of the playoffs or inevitably, whatever word you want to use about it. Like, say they do get eliminated from playoff positioning. I mean, just throw them out there for a game or two. I mean, you have one of these super intriguing guys at wide receiver and Wandale Robinson. No, I'm just kidding. Malik Neighbors. We got to hype up Wandeezy,
Yeah, we got to hype up the
True,
Kentucky
true.
boy.
Exactly. But I mean, he's the super great safety blanket. I mean, he had 140 targets last year. I mean, you're just like he's great out there. And
The
but
Daniel
Jackson,
Jones
back to
effect,
him. I
Mr. Chick.
um, I don't know if I would personally start him unless the situation arose where we're not playing for anything. I don't want to put him in any games of leverage this early in his career, just because I do think he's a little behind the eight ball in development at this point. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think the New York fans are honestly so ruthless that if you throw him out there too early, then you risk basically just shattering the confidence. Like, honestly, I think I've seen it both with Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold with the Jets, and also I think with Daniel Jones with the Giants, in that they were thrown out there so early and expected so early on to be actual contributors because New York fans can't accept being bad. And I think if you throw him out there early on in the season when there's still something to potentially play for, and he's not 100% where you want him to be, he's going to get so showered with criticism and booing and everything that you potentially run into shattering the guy's confidence before he's even had a chance to develop. So I think maybe you see like a week 14, 15 kind of thing where you're playing the last 2 or 3 games when it's cemented that, we're not making the playoffs, we're not doing anything real major with this season. Then you give them an opportunity to see some defenses, because potentially you're playing against some teams that they may be their backups because they've already locked up playoff spots. So you get a little bit more of an experience of easing your way into the NFL versus, because the Bo Nix and the Drake May experience where you just throw them in from the start, a lot of times doesn't really work.
Drake May. I would include Bo Nix in that. I would say more Drake.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I guess he didn't really until the end of the season, but at least the Drake May experience where you just kind of say, figure it out, buddy.
Yeah.
99 times out of 100, that doesn't turn out in the way that you actually get your franchise quarterback in the way Drake May is.
Yeah.
So I think you both are exactly right. You don't want to throw him in too early where you ruin everything for the future and now you just wasted a first-round pick.
Yeah. Obviously I'm a Giants fan, so I want to reiterate 2 things real quick. I think the Russell Wilson signing pre-draft kind of set in stone that, yes, the Giants were most likely going to draft someone, but he wasn't going to start right away. I mean, you're not signing Russell Wilson to be the backup quarterback. You're not paying him $20 million to be the backup quarterback. This ain't a Kirk Cousins situation. You're signing Russell Wilson on a 1-year deal because he's a good mentor. He's he's the opposite of Aaron Rodgers, like I said earlier. He's a good mentor. He'll take Jackson Dart under his wing because he realizes, yes, I'm at the end of my career. I'm way past my prime at this point. I'm a bridge quarterback. That's just where he's at in his career. And then the second thing is, when the Giants drafted Jackson Dart, I was so freaking excited because I was going up into the draft, I was like, for the love of God, please just take Abdul Carter. He is the best player in the draft, in my opinion. He is a freaking stud. We will have a great defensive line, whatever. And they took him, and I was like, okay, I can take a deep breath. And then all of a sudden, I got a notification on my phone. The Giants have traded back into the first round. I'm like, Ryan, you're gonna have to bleep this out. I'm like, oh fuck, they're gonna take Shadur Sanders. I'm like, this is not good shit. And then I saw Jackson Dart's name come up, and I was like, ecstatic. I mean, this is fantastic. Like Sean said, his aura that he had at Ole Miss, it's like that just fits the New York personality. I mean, you saw Daniel Jones, and when the Giants drafted him, he didn't fit the New York personality.
He's a Duke guy.
Yeah, Jackson Dart was an Ole Miss, the Dart eye black, all the drip, all the everything, super energetic, everything. You're like, this is the quarterback you want in the Big Apple. I mean, this is the guy you want to build your future around him.
It's the Joe Namath. You need the big personality to fit in New York.
Yeah, you need, and especially when you're pairing him with Malik Neighbors and Tyrone Tracy and Theo Johnson, Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, all these guys. You need a big personality. You need a guy who's you saw him at Ole Miss. I mean, that's one of the biggest question marks with him is his decision making. He'll take the shot. Sometimes he'll be like, screw it, I'm going to throw it up to Malik Neighbors. Maybe he'll catch it, maybe he won't. That was kind of what lacked with Daniel Jones and the Giants was because he didn't really he wasn't gutsy enough. And I feel like Brian Dable was kind of had a leash around him because he was we're going to stick to kind of checkdowns here because that's really all Daniel Jones can throw. But Jackson Dart's got enough talent, enough guts where he's sometimes it's just going to be a a freaking Josh Allen 60-yard heave towards the end zone. Like,
Well, because
someone might
who
get-
did Dable make his money with and get his name out there?
Yeah.
A young Josh Allen
Mhm.
who was gutsy, very raw talent, had a whole bunch of the physical aspects to himself, but hadn't necessarily developed. Coming out of Wyoming had a completion percentage of like 57%. Comes in with Dable molds him and almost has to rein in some of the gutsy moves rather than trying to bring it out of somebody like he was trying to do with Daniel Jones and trying to convince him to be more gutsy. I think this is a very similar instance to Josh Allen.
Yeah. And speaking of Dable, I mean, this is a guy. Dable and Joe Shane had to love Jackson Dart. Because, I mean, respectfully, this is their jobs on the line here. They're putting their marbles in the Jackson Dart's basket here because they always complained, hey, we weren't able to draft our guy. We came in here with Daniel Jones. Blah, 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 blah. That all got inflated because we made the playoffs their first year with Brian Dable. I think that kind of screwed up the track. But they need Jackson Dart to succeed. I mean, he needs to help him succeed. He was known as a quarterback's coach. I mean, look what he did with Josh Allen, like Ryan just said. That needs to happen for them to keep their jobs. Because everybody will always remember Joe Shane for letting Saquon Barkley walk to the division rival, wins Offensive Player of the Year, wins the Super Bowl. I mean, you don't want that to be your legacy. You want your legacy to be, we drafted the next future quarterback of the New York Giants. And look where this got us. So, there is one more team we need to talk about, though. Ryan reminded me of it. And I said the Colts might have the worst quarterback room here. This might not be the worst quarterback room. This might be the worst selected, worst managed quarterback room. And the Cleveland Browns. You got Joe Flacco. You got Kenny Pickett. You got Dylan Gabriel, the 3rd-round pick. And you got Shadur Sanders, the 5th-round pick. What in the world were the Browns doing in this draft? I mean, first off, taking Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, a little bit of a head scratcher there alone. That's a premium pick. I mean, you look at 1 through 3 rounds in the NFL, that's a premium pick. And then for you to turn around and spend a mid-grade pick in the 5th round on Shadur Sanders, what sense does that even make? I mean, honestly, I think Shadur is better than Dylan Gabriel. I think we can all say that. But what sense does that make? If you like Shedeur that much, why not just take him instead of Dylan Gabriel? So, the question I'm going to ask you guys, out of the 4, who do you think is the week 1 starter here for the Cleveland Browns? Sean, we're going to start with you. Who do you think the week 1 starter? I'm putting you on the spot here. Who do you think the week 1 starter is for the Cleveland Browns?
Oh, man. It's tough. It's tough. I think the smart move would be just going with Joe Flacco. I think the worst pick would probably be Pickett. Honestly, it's just me, probably. I like Dylan Gabriel. I do. I think he's a pretty good offensive talent. He had correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he had the most passing yards and most touchdowns in college football this past year. And
I think so too.
I think he's a great talent. So I wouldn't mind putting him out there. He might not be ready. Shadur might not be ready. I mean, it's all just a crapshoot. The Cleveland Browns suck. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't know, but I'd probably just throw Joe Flacco out there if you want to give your wide receivers and running backs and everything any kind of confidence. Unless you just love one of the other QBs. So my vote would be to start Joe Flacco. But honestly, with how weirdly run this organization is, I wouldn't be surprised with any of them. So
I wish there was an option E, none of the above, honestly, when my vote.
Yeah, can we start Quinshawn at QB or something?
Can we just and also put in perspective that's a good point. They took Judkins And they took Dylan Sampson from Tennessee. Again, I get the whole 2 running back thing, but then again, spending 2 premium picks on 2 running backs. I don't know who the hell was running their draft scouting, who was the GM. I don't even know what his name is. I don't know. I feel like I could have drafted my Madden franchise team better than whatever the hell they did in this draft class. Because
I feel like the auto draft feature would have done a better job
I know,
in this draft than.
because at the
Mhm.
same time, I want to say Joe Flacco as well. But then I look at the Saints situation. I feel like it's almost the same thing. Because I've mentioned premium draft picks here. The Browns are going to suck no matter who plays quarterback. And they're going to be in the draft pick here to get a Drew Aller, a Lenore Sellers, an Arch Manning, a Garrett Nussmeier, a Cade Klubnik. I mean, any of those 5 guys, I would feel like you kind of want to see what you have out of your draft picks from this last year more than what you'd want to see out of a 45-year-old Joe Flacco or a Kenny Pickett, who we all know is not an NFL quarterback. So at the same time, I feel like you put Dylan Gabriel out there. I feel like it's more of it's like a high school thing. You put Dylan Gabriel out there for the first half, you put Shador out there for the second half, for the first 2 games, and you're like, who played better? I mean, who did better? Who deserves to start the rest of the year? That's just me, because I feel like you need to see something from those guys before, because in all honesty, I think they're going to take another quarterback next year. But maybe you build those guys' trade stock up. Maybe you ship them off more picks. I mean, that's way down the line. But I just think you need to see the rookies what they could do. But like Sean said, if I had to vote right now, I feel like it's going to be Joe Flacco who starts week 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, the person who got screwed the most was Dylan Gabriel. Because Shadur Sanders is just one of those personalities that it's hard to start over them. It's hard to have them as your backup. I think of the other person that's a perfect example is Cam Newton. You could never have Cam Newton as a backup quarterback, and that's why the Patriots sucked so much when they had him as a backup and had to get rid of him when Mac Jones was a starter, is because he's so much of a big personality that it doesn't work for them to be a backup. And I think it's the same exact thing with Shadur and Dylan Gabriel, is that no matter how good Gabriel could play, there's always going to be this contingent of people saying, well, Shadur could do better. Shadur could throw 4 touchdowns instead of 3. Shadur could run for 2 instead of 1. And so you're never going to get a fair shake if you're Dylan Gabriel. I don't think Kenny Pickett's even on the roster come week 1, to be honest. I think it goes down to 3. And you end up with those 3 unless... I think the 2 most likely to be on the roster will be Joe Flacco and Shadur Sanders. I think if any team has any injuries to a first or second string quarterback, they potentially come calling to a Dylan Gabriel type of situation and the Browns trade him. I don't think there's a trade market for Kenny Pickett anywhere in the NFL. And I think he ends up on a practice squad somewhere. So do I think that Joe Flacco, I think, like you said, Andy, Joe Flacco probably makes the most logical sense in that you don't want to just give up on the season right from the start. But I think you've got to go one of the 2 rookies in a sense of we need to know what the future looks like. And I guess the Browns took the approach that if we just take a bunch of the same position, one of them will work out. We take 2 decent running backs, one of them will be good. If we take 2 quarterbacks, one will be good. It's a stupid approach, but I guess that's what they did. I think...
And we're forgetting one big thing. They gave up Travis Hunter. I mean, they got a pretty big haul in a first-round pick, but this was a Travis Hunter guy who everybody talked about. This is like a generational player. Let's see if that pans out. Obviously, that's not what we're talking about. But add that into the rest of the draft class problems that they had here. They gave up Travis Hunter. I mean, let's see if that bites him. Let's see what he does in Jacksonville. But sorry, Ryan, continue. I just didn't want to forget to touch on that.
I think realistically what they should have done was, if you were so high on Dylan Gabriel, don't take Shadur Sanders. Or if you were so high on Shadur Sanders, don't take Dylan Gabriel. taking two rookie quarterbacks in the same draft that are both higher profile guys has never worked out in the NFL's history. It will not work. And now you're going to end up wasting draft picks on quarterbacks that you're going to end up turning around and having to pick another one next year.
Mm-hmm.
When if you'd just taken the right approach and said, hey, we know we're going to draft a quarterback late in the draft. Let's get Travis Hunter. Let's do whatever. And shore up the rest of the team. And then say, you know what? 2026 looks awesome for quarterbacks. Let's roll with Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett for this year. Take a Will Howard in the 6th round or a Quinn Ewers in the 7th round and just roll with that. Don't take two high-profile guys because then you're going to end up having to take another one next year anyways.
I completely agree. All right, so I believe that's going to wrap up today's episode unless either of you guys have any final touches. Anything?
I know this isn't a basketball podcast, but I just wanted to tell y'all that the Oklahoma City Thunder are champs. I know, Ryan, you got to see that I went to the parade. Coolest experience ever. If you ever have your team win a championship, no matter the sport, go to the parade. Go to when they do the ring ceremony, drop the banner. I'm gonna take my fiance Abby to it whenever that does happen over in October. But dude, it was the best experience, and I hope that every fan of whatever team wins so that everyone can experience that because it is the absolute best.
When Buffalo wins a Super Bowl, I will help personally burn that city down.
Dude, I'm coming with you.
Celebration.
I'm coming with you.
Oh, hell yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever get to experience that as a Giants fan. I don't plan on it in my lifetime. I don't know why I voluntarily became a Giants fan.
Kentucky, there you go.
Let's hope. Okay, this logo right here. This is what I'm banking on. But I didn't even know Sean was a Thunder fan until he just said that. I mean, I was rooting for him. I mean, SGA, a Kentucky guy. So, but
and Casey Wallace got two of them.
And Casey Wallace, correct. But Sean, we do the college basketball podcast during the winter time. And maybe this year, maybe we'll touch on a little NBA. Maybe I'll actually watch the NBA. I actually enjoyed watching the playoffs and the draft process. I actually did enjoy it. So maybe we'll touch on it. Because I'm sorry, but the NBA regular season is sometimes the hardest thing to watch. Because it's like, yippee, they won 140 to 125. But
hey,
basketball is such a fun. I love college basketball. I could sit there and watch college basketball all day, every day. March Madness is the best time of year, in my opinion. So, but final touches here. Go check out the social medias, the Instagram, the YouTube, TikTok, everything like that. Check out the merch site. We really appreciate Sean joining us here. I know for a fact you'll see a lot more of Sean here coming up, moving into football season and into basketball season. So we really appreciated him joining us today. Obviously, I don't need to thank Ryan because he's here every time. You guys are used to him at this point. But we're hoping to kind of get the full crew back together here. Troy, our other guy, will be returning here in about 3 weeks.
Come back from boot camp finally?
Yeah, so we're excited to have him back. But other than that, check out the Instagram, all the other social medias, and we'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.